Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesday Night Mid-League here over at Excellency Esports, and to start us off here, we do have an exciting night for you all here. Our two top teams going head-to-head. They're both undefeated going into week number 6, but only one of them is going to go on to week 7, still undefeated, and we're here to talk about this very exciting matchup. My name is Mac Dewey. Joining me for the pregame show is the one and only Loud Thoughts, Doctor, and Fennec. This is pretty much, I think, our best matchup we're going to get all season before playoffs. What are some of your expectations going into tonight?
Well, I think it wouldn't be a controversial opinion to say that I think we expect a Glaive 2-0. Yeah, we hope for a 3-game series, but look at how these two teams have been performing. Glaive has 2-0'd everyone this entire season. Well, last week Catalyst Frost had a little bit of trouble. They went to 3 games. We were able to see that as part of the Game 3 last week up against Glacial Esports. But let's hear from Doctor. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to agree with your point quite a bit. Even if we were to, take it to one step further and potentially compare strength of schedules, we're in week 5 now. They've pretty much played all of the same teams.
Right.
And at that point, you have to then look at game score. And like Finnick said, Glaive is just 2-0ing everybody and not even long 2-0s. We're seeing sub 30-minute wins. We did see, I think it was a 19-minute win because I distinctly remember pointing out that it was still longer than G2 lasted at Worlds. So, it is pretty nuts out there for what Glaive's doing. But this is obviously their first real test. It's another undefeated team. It's somebody that, has been putting in the work together. They have that sister team training to go back and forth and bounce ideas off of. So this is Glaive's one true test. If they win here, might as well just hand him the championship, in all honesty.
I mean, I hear you out, guys, but we've been talking so much so far about how we expect one of these teams to beat Glaive. And if we're looking down the list, Frost is the only other team that is 5-0 currently, so they're going to have the best chance. And if we take a look at their match history, we can also see that they have a lot of strong picks that they can test away from Glaive as well. They play the Lucian mid, they play the Orianna, they play the Hecarim. These are all very aggressive picks, things that we are looking for, that we want to see these teams pull out versus Glaive, kind of punish their over-aggression that we've called out in previous weeks. And so if there's going to be any team here that I think has the opportunity to be able to beat them, I have my money on Frost here because they do play these aggressive styles. They can play around the mid lane, which is a hyper focus point for both of these teams. And so say you get the Lucian for Hypochondriac in the mid lane, you pick up the Hecarim for Red as well, you have a really good shot here at being able to get this very aggressive, very strong early game damaging duo. And from there, you're going to be able to run away from a game because I don't mean to call Kikari out too hard here, but he has a tendency to go a little hard in the mid lane. I've seen more than one aggressive flash for the finishing kill in the mid lane out of this man. And so if you're able to punish that use of his summoner spells, constantly using it overly aggressive, I think they have a really good shot of being able to actually at least pull off one game and maybe pull off the entire series.
Yeah. I mean, I've been hearing some rumors that maybe Glaive Black
rumors
just play some for fun picks, in traditional, continuing that G2 trend. So, if they do go that in game 1, then I think that actually exponentially jumps Frost's chances, because if you take game 1, it only takes one more error to take the series.
Catalyst Frost coming into this match with, I think, arguably the second most just talented roster. You got Roach in the top lane, Red in the jungle, Hypochondriac, who has been arguably the MVP of the mid league, coming in here, is going to have to show up tonight. And then you've got Alex and Cloud in the bot lane. What are some of your guys' thoughts? Who are we looking at outside of Hypo to really step up in tonight's match?
It got to be Alex. Last week, right, in their Game 3 win, he played an instrumental role there, dealing with what was going on from that Glacial side. And I do think when you have kind of a single carry threat team, you typically will look towards the bot lane as kind of like your backup if your mid lane goes sour, or if one of your solo lanes goes sour, right? Now, both these teams decide that they want to play around this top side of the map, and you were talking about Hypo potentially MVP, but at the same time,
arguably, that's all.
arguably Kakari, I think, can take that spot as well. I think these are definitely the two best mid laners in the league at the moment. Kakari has kind of shown this breadth of champion pool that a lot of other mid laners are kind of afraid to go on, like they're typically on the this one type of style. I do think Hypochondriac tends to play towards that scaling side, right? That
Absolutely,
could potentially be punished by the picks that Kakari likes playing. And so when you have someone who plays towards that scaling side, we know Glaive plays weak side bot lane, so I want to see Alex on an aggressive pick, something like the Lucian, something like the Xayah potentially. Obviously, neither of these are super hot on the meta right now. We know he plays Syndra bot lane. Maybe we can see that. Maybe we can see Jhin as well as far as aggressive goes. And I think that is kind of how you want to turn Glaive's whole thing on their head. Kiba does have very good games. Especially last week, right? I believe game 2 it was, where he was playing the Ziggs was very, very strong from him. He basically took over that lane. But when I look at this comp, when I look for potentially someone other than Hypo to carry, it's got to be Alex in the bot lane. You got to be able to punish Glaive playing towards these solo lanes as much as any other team does.
I'm going to say it's going to be coach diff. I mean, so many of these teams have to make it happen in draft, right? Like the coaches need to have the draft phase strong to let the players be strong. And so we're sitting here talking about all these picks and which player may be able to make them their MVP pick and pop off. But so many times we see teams here play a little bit more for the comfort instead of the pick. And so when it comes to the draft phase, it can be really difficult to get those pop-off performances. And sometimes you just want to settle to make sure that your player is safe. And so we end up with funky picks, like the Predator Galio mid, the Omni Stone and Nivea, like things like this.
Okay.
And that's just like a draft diff. And so the coach, in that case gets the opposite of MVP. And so, we don't need that. Keep the Omni Stone and Nivea for your special.
Hold on. For context, I casted a 1v1 tournament for Glaive. Mr. Kiba and Dibble decided that they were gonna, in their 1v1, mirror match Omnistone and Nivea just for me as a resident Nivea 1 truck. If Dibble decides to play Omnistone and Nivea top lane and wins with that pick, I will gift him a $20 RP gift card at the end of the month. So, and I mean that for this series. If he does that, if he wins with Omnistone and Nivea top, I will do it. I will give you $20 of RP. I don't think you're going to do it, but if you do, call me.
Look, Doctor already said that they might pull out some kind of troll picks in game 1. You just gave him the perfect opportunity to not only pull out a troll pick, but make a good amount of money off of it as well. So, I mean, he's going to take you up on that, man.
I know I would.
We'll see. That said, when we talk about these drafts, I think it's worth noting that the game 1 draft from last week from Glaive Black, they were able to to draft, I believe it was Catalyst Blaze into a corner where they were forced to pick this Cassiopeia pick, even though, or not pick this Cassiopeia pick. I forgot. I believe, they picked a Malphite. And they forced the Cassiopeia pick, which, due to that in their composition, that then allowed them to just take over that mid lane with Kakari, because otherwise there was no way they're going to be able to deal with the Malphite because everything else on the team was AD. So I'm excited. Doctor, help me out here. What do you think potentially is the key to win from this Glaive squad? Because we talked a bit about Catalyst. We can talk about them a bit more. I know Lab Thoughts you're into that, but what do we think about the win conditions for Glaive?
I think Issei plays a big portion of it. 2 weeks ago we interviewed the bot lane there, Kiba and Issei, and what really struck me was the thought process that they actually took into the game and the level of preparedness they brought in, because they level 1 ganked the enemy mid laner and then ran bot immediately after getting summons there and just ran head first at the enemy bot lane. And they were just like, yeah, we skill checked him, right? Like, we did our research. We know they love warding this particular bush at this time. And then once we realized that, you know, we hit the level 2 a little bit quicker in the bot side. And I knew that just based off of this player's tendencies, you know, I could get away with this much, you know, of a crime. And Issei just, you know, in the interview really brought forward that they prepare so much. And as a support player, you know, a lot of the time you are making the calls, you're the ones directing how the lane goes. And so you need to be like double upped on that preparedness and that plan. And so I think if Issei is on point and they give him that thresh like we saw a couple weeks ago, I think it's just lights out.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for sure around the bot lane. Issei is also a really just great roaming support. I want to personally see for Frost, on the other hand, playing something that mitigates the level of threat that Issei plays, because typically speaking, he plays a lot of engage style champions. He likes to play the Thresh, as you mentioned. I've seen him pull out the Alistar before, so these champions that like to go in, they like to start out the team fights for their team. However, if you pick something that's a little bit more passive, we've seen the Braum being pulled out by Cloud. We've seen him play the Thresh himself, so these kind of more defensive champions or champions that can kind of do both forms of peeling and engaging for their team. I think it's going to be a great place for Frost to start in terms of being able to mitigate any kind of bot lane losses, because the bot lane for Glaive is extremely strong, and you know, we see most of the time that Frost doesn't like to play around their bot lane a whole lot. So while they're going to be playing something a bit more passive in the bot lane in order to mitigate some of Issei's pressure, I would like to see them first prioritize some much more aggressive mid lane jungle picks. We mentioned the Lucian. You can pick away the Orianna as well, or even force the Orianna onto the opponent so that they have to play that control mage into Lucian. Not the best matchup for Kakari there. Take away the Hecarim, take away these aggressive junglers, and then try and play around your top mid side. As we mentioned before, that's really where they're going to want to try and put a lot of pressure. Hypochondriac and Roach, two very strong solo lane players for Frost, and so if they're able to get their solo lanes running ahead while mitigating damage on their weak side, bot side, I think they have a really good shot.
Two Titans in the mid league here. Glaive Black and Catalyst Frost, both teams 5-0, looking to put the other down a notch. You won't want to miss this matchup. We are going to go into a quick break as we set up for Game 1 picks and bans. Don't click out of that browser. We'll be right back.
See ya.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Mid-League Analyst Desk. We're here to set you guys up for week number 6 here. 2 of our Titans facing off in the Rift. My name is Mac Dewey, and joining me here on the Analyst Desk is the one and only Tryhard, making a guest appearance for the first time in our season. You got in for a good one, my man. How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, I'm feeling good. You gotta always love watching two teams that, undefeated, both of them. It's bound to be good. Bound to be a great game.
Yeah, and it's all going to start here in the picks and bans. I think there's a lot of ways teams can develop advantages here, especially between two teams that have players with such insanely large champion pools. Do you have any picks maybe in the meta lurking around Tryhard that you're going to be keeping a special eye on in this series?
Well, mentioned earlier, I'm kind of biased in a way. I love Hecarim, and I'm always going to be a proponent of offering a Hecarim. Using that in the mid lane Lucian, the aggression that you can pull off is honestly astounding. So looking for that combo coming in from maybe Catalyst or Glaive, either one.
Yeah, both of these junglers, Red and Demon, have had their fair share of games on the Hecarim pick. Could certainly be a solid early game option to try to get Glaive on the board quite early. They've been known for their absurdly low game time averages throughout this season. They haven't had many games go past the 25-minute mark and none past the 30-minute mark, and it's all just been through sheer dominance. But I think Catalyst Frost is going to give them a little bit more of a challenge. They've got the strong laners as well. They've got Hypochondriac in the mid lane. He's been their scaling rock throughout the season. Alex has been solid. I'm expecting to see the Jhin show up in relevancy for this series, and also Kiba on the other side of the Rift for Glaive. I think this bot lane is where the game can potentially be won or lost for both of these squads.
Yeah, you're always going to have an issue when you pull something strong on one side of the map and the other side just can't seem to hang on.
Exactly, and that's kind of where Catalyst Frost struggled a little bit last week, as we are heading into picks and bans for game number 1. Hypo's Corki taken off of the board, but getting back to that point, it was Roach and Red who actually struggled. The top jungle duo for Catalyst Frost had to take a little bit of a backseat, play from behind, and try to stay as relevant as possible in their series against Glacial Rising Phoenix, hoping to bounce back, but that's going to be tough against the Dibble Demon duo on the top side for Glaive.
Followed by the quick Samira ban, and the ban of the Lucian coming out as well.
And here's that Hecarim you know and love, Tryhard, going over to the side of Glaive Black. What kind of picks do you want to see go with this Hecarim?
You prefer to see lanes that can shove and roam in and help the Hecarim do his thing, keep control. The Lucian being banned out mid is really unfortunate, but you could see any number of replacement for that. Oh, the counter Graves.
It wasn't banned away. Glaive Black, focusing on the mid lane, only took Olaf off of the board, and that's going to be a very solid answer to the horse. Catalyst Frost also going to be able to pick up. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe the support, maybe the AD. Jhin is still available. A lot of solid options in the bot lane. Really, both of these teams can kind of go anywhere they want.
Yeah, so I'm still kind of new to this league, so I'm still trying to figure out how each team plays and who they play through.
Right.
But the Ashe pick coming through, that's always a staple. Nice, clean pick. Able to kind of just safely farm away if need be, or help out if they want to do something more aggressive with it.
And I think the Hawk Shot, if used properly, can be really useful for Catalyst Frost to kind of slow down the game, make sure they're tracking Demon really well, making sure that the communication is strong there. Again, Doc on the pregame section talking about Coach Diff. Catalyst Frost has got to be ready to fight, and I know if we're going to get a series, it's going to be a grueling one, because Glaive Black, I think it's on no one's radar that they're going to get stomped. If Frost are going to pull off an upset, if these underdogs are going to succeed, they're going to have to really work for it.
For sure, and you see the Orianna pick coming out for the Hecarim, a good champion that you can just shove and roam with. And good choice.
The Azir picked up for Hypa, one of his signature scaling champions, wanting to get that in before the second phase of bans. How do you feel about this Azir Orianna matchup? Both of these players showing prowess on both, so I think the skill factor is going to be there. What do you think about the matchup at face value?
True, at face value, I always prefer the Orianna, just kind of an easier champion to learn to position and deal with. But if you have the skill to pull off the Azir, you can definitely take the Orianna for a ride.
Yeah, I think Azir very likely could go for a scaling-oriented build. You got that lethal tempo option. You could also go for the Arcane Comet if you want to try to go for the aggressive, but as we know, the Time Work Tonic Corrupting Potion standard that's been prevalent for these mid laners for so long makes it so difficult for 1v1 the mid laners to make plays happen. We see the Thresh is locked in for Cloud here. On the side of Frost, Glaive Black going to round out their composition with these final two picks. They need the support in the top lane. Frost saving their counter pick for this top lane matchup.
You see the Yuumi banned out as well, so you wonder what they're going to pair with the Ezreal. And this good set flex pick, but it doesn't matter because they double pick on this rotation.
Glaive Black now just waiting on the pick. We'll have to see who it is going to be for support. We've really seen Issei take out a lot of wonky picks. The Blitzcrank was banned away, and it's the Ornn locked in is going to be that set support that Issei has been picking up quite a bit through this season. And Glaive Black, they've got themselves a pretty safe, I feel like, what the community would consider a very competitive team composition.
For sure. It definitely looks really good. If you see this set, if you were going to pick set from the beginning, I guess you didn't know the support matchup at that point. You may have wanted to try that a little earlier, unless they wanted to pry out the Hecarim the way that they did.
It is going to be the Mordekaiser locked in for Roach. Puts him in a difficult position. It seems like it's going to be a lot of these skill lanes for the side of Frost. They're going to have to make some very specific plays happen. It's not necessarily the wombo combo teamfight composition that I think Glaive Black have for themselves that's really easily executed on, you know? You're going to be seeing the Call of the Forge God, the Onslaught of Shadows, and the Shockwave all used together. Frost, it's not necessarily a coherent composition. You're going to have Roach trying to find a spare ADC or a spare mid laner, catching out Kafari or Kiba with that Death Realm, forcing them to build into the Quicksilver Sash. You don't have a lot of frontline for the side of Frost. You've got Graves in the jungle, Thresh in the support role. It's going to be interesting how they try to manage these team fights.
Yes, you're definitely hoping to not get caught. You don't have the heart of Frost right now.
Mm-hmm.
With the Ashe pick and the mobility of the Azir, you're hoping to maybe roam to the side lanes, get, not really pick these big 5-on-5 fights that you're very obviously going to lose with the ultimates on Glaive.
Yeah, and what do you think about this Ornn versus Mordekaiser matchup? I feel like the scaling, and if Dibble gets ahead early on this pick, he can pretty much become unkillable. What do you want to see from Roach to kind of get ahead and avoid the Christmas time ornaments that get hung up around the 25-minute mark?
Yeah, it's always rough seeing that.
Yeah.
With the Graves pick, you're hoping to see some sort of maybe top play within the first 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes to get them ahead. I mean, very obviously, if you start bot, you're going to be topside jungle within 3 minutes, 15 seconds with the scuttle. But maybe you see more, as we said earlier, more action top than bot, which comes in with the safer pick spot.
And I feel like it could be a potential snooze fest in the bot lane, or at least it seemed like that was the way it was going to go, with the Ashe Ezreal locked in within the first two picks from both of these teams. But they mixed it up. They added some aggression. They sprinkled it in with the set and the Thresh. How do you think these support picks could potentially mix things up for the bot lane? What are you expecting to see? Because you got Issei and Cloud both needing to, I think, come up big in this game. You don't want to see any missed face breakers or missed death sentences. Where do you think they can really shine?
True, you don't want to see missed abilities, but I would like to see the set kind of leave the Ezreal, roam mid, maybe perform a double gank mid with the Hecarim, get the Orianna head, and then keep moving, keep pushing it,
Yeah, and getting Hypochondriac under pressure. This has been the star for Catalyst Frost. All eyes are going to be on him for this extremely important match. Catalyst Frost and Glaive both sitting comfortably well within playoffs, but there's a little bit of, I guess, pride surrounding this one. You got both teams 5-0 wanting to feel confident going into playoffs, and Glaive, really, if they're able to stomp over Frost, it kind of becomes clear there's no one they can't stomp in the mid league. Do you think they got a pretty good shot of doing that with their composition here, Tryhard?
I definitely prefer Glaive's comp to Frost comp, but man, I am just beside myself excited for this undefeated matchup.
Yeah, we are going to go to a quick break as we load onto the Rift. We're going to hand it over to Doctor and Loud Thoughts to walk us through this game. You won't want to miss it. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Loud Dodge, joined tonight by none other than Doc, as we're hopping into a very exciting game one here between Glaive Black and Catalyst Frost. On the blue side, we do have Glaive Black with Dibble in the top lane, playing Ornn, Demon in the jungle with Hecarim, Kakari playing the mid lane, Orianna, and Kiba and Issei flexing their prestige skins on the Ezreal set bot lane.
Meanwhile, the Catalyst Frost are looking icy as they head into the river here. Roach on that Mordekaiser. Red with the gun in the jungle. Hypochondriac in the flapping of the wings mid lane. And then we have Alex and Cloud floating through that bottom lane on that combination there. And them getting caught out doesn't look like we're actually going to see any level 1 action.
Yeah, I am personally a huge fan of level 1 fights, especially if you're running something like the Thresh Ashe in the bot lane. You can easily punish Nezreal, maybe force him to take that Arcane Shift level 1 so he doesn't have to blow Flash most of the time. They'd prefer to blow the Summoner spell just so that they can get, the early queue moving for themselves. But we're not going to see any action going on. And we were listening to the analyst desk before all this and trying to figure out, how do we feel about these drafts? And personally, we were talking about the top lane mainly, the Mordekaiser pick. We have a couple of questions about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely the lane pick here. They wanted Roach on something that can comfortably win lane, can really take advantage of playing strong side, and doesn't necessarily need, to, scale into the late game as long as they get the job done early. You get a couple of kills early on, you use that advantage to take dragons and heralds, and then you use those to get the rest of your team ahead. And then you let the scaling of the Azir Ashe really carry you into victory. I don't know if that's exactly how it's going to play out, but that is definitely the thought process behind the pick.
Yeah, and while Mordekaiser is traditionally a pretty strong topside pick into this Ornn, you can punish him really hard with your Shred over time. I personally think that we were looking more for a Shen pick or something of that sort that can play this frontline role for the side of Frost. They're kind of missing any true tank, true engage potential. They do have the Thresh Death Sentences. They do have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to look for these fights. And, if Hypochondriac is feeling himself, maybe a good Shurima Shuffle, who knows? But outside of that, Mordekaiser isn't necessarily going to be the best when it comes to the mid or late game team fights here. A Shen pick would have done the same job in terms of lane kingdom in the top lane, but we do have a little bit of aggression on the Hecarim here. Is there going to be any collapse from the mid laners? It does not seem so, but Demon looking a little low there in red, sacrificing level 3 to try and go for an early invade.
Yeah, and I think Zephyr has really converted me to the Church of Shen. Most specifically in this matchup, I always think that Mordekaiser into this is so good because it is so dominant, because once you get that rivalized, you can never get away, and Ornn just really can start to struggle from that point. But in all honesty, Shen's even better of a... Oh, man.
Ooh, that's a flash forward. The stun comes out. Hecarim is here. Demon gets the knockback. That's going to be a flash force out of Cloud. And we're trying to back away from this one. The Ignite is done. The Haymaker comes through, and Ezreal gets first blood. Issei takes the heal to keep himself alive. Now, Katal is here. Red is coming in, and he's going to be able to find one more. He gives it over to Alex, and that's a double kill for the Ashe in the bot lane. An aggressive play made by Glaive gets punished by Frost.
Absolute disaster there for Glaive. They had a really nice thing going for him. They get the first blood onto Cloud. That Haymaker just absorbs so much damage, and then everything afterwards falls apart. Too much damage coming in from the tower onto Issei, who's not super tanky at this stage of the game. Graves does 1 billion damage, and actually hitting all 3 members there with the smoke screen just set it up perfectly for Alex to get the chase down.
Yeah, and that's the kind of aggression that we have mentioned time and time again that you need to be playing into Glaive Black here. You want to be matching their early playmaking like that. And we've talked about Issei. He likes to go for these flashy plays. He likes to play very aggressive, hence the set support here, going immediately with the flash into that fight, but they just weren't prepared for Graves to still be on the bottom side of the map, despite the fact that he had showed himself on that bottom side. They might have assumed that maybe he went top side to clear his upper camps, but he came in with a red buff, so they should have known that Graves was going to be on that bot side. They're ready for the counter gank, and fortunately for the side of Catalyst Frost, Red was in the perfect place at the perfect time. He was able to punish an aggressive play from Glaive, and now it's going to be 2 kills given over and no more summoners available in the bottom side.
Yeah, and I think maybe they weren't expecting the Graves because when they saw him, he didn't have double buff, which the timing maybe he could have at that point. And so they just weren't fully expecting him to be right there. But Graves can be so healthy at the end of the jungle, and he power farms so well. He does have a bit of scaling along with it as well. Tons of damage on the Roach, but that's just disrespect of the lane matchup. You know, Dibble does have a lot of damage here, does have a lot of crowd control as well, and if you get caught out by too many of these charges into brittle procs, you're going to find yourself on the gray screen very soon. But overall, so far, I think you're not too worried about that Ashe double kill. It obviously hurts picking up that BF sword and now taking that into a tier. Yeah, your lane's basically toast, and the set now needs to make plays elsewhere. But for now, I don't think it's too much to be worried about.
Yeah, and you're saying that set needs to go elsewhere. Well, that's perfectly fine for Glaive here, because that is how they typically play this bot lane. In previous weeks, we've seen Kiba, he just plays AFK 1v2 in the bot lane on this Ezreal. We saw him before when he got an early lead. He was just destroying his opponents in the 1v2 while his support was running around the map on a Pantheon pick that week, I believe. So in terms of, you know, oh no, we lost this lane, now Issei has to go roaming, that's not necessarily the worst of situations for the bot lane of Glaive. I am concerned, though, how is Kiba going to be able to survive through all that, because he did pick up the early tier, which is telling us that he thinks that he's going to be able to play this lane safe enough that he's not going to get punished by this Ashe and Thresh, level 5 and 4 respectively. So, you know, they got a couple more levels before you can start forcing things from the side of Frost, but Tyr is not going to be able to put up a whole lot of work when those level 6 fights start coming out, and there is no pickaxe available for Kiba.
Yeah, and I do think once you give up the double kill, the tier does make the most sense, because even if you get the pickaxe for the same amount of gold, you still can't contest. It's BF sword versus pickaxe. Like, you're always down at that point, so you might as well try and accelerate the scaling portion of it by picking up that tier first, getting it stacking. You know, every time you send out that ability, you get something, and you can actually see Kiba, who is just whipping spells. Like, even, like, obviously the Mystic Shot there landed, but we're seeing Essence Flux and everything just flying out of the champion just to make sure that they're getting as many stacks as quickly as possible. You can get the pickaxe on the next back. If you wait even longer, then you'll have that much closer to the fully stacked Metamune, and you know, eventually you're going to get this cull completed as well. My favorite item, by the way. It's just so gold efficient. Everybody should buy it. Everybody except the jungler anyway. So I think the tier makes the most sense, as we do see an engage in the mid lane. It's a little scary, but not too much.
Yeah, solid trade coming out from Hypochondriac, though, going in there, getting a lot of damage down with his soldiers. Top lane, we're also seeing trading going back and forth. Note, the early Negatron Cloak was picked up, crafted by Dibble in lane using that Ornn passive of his, so it's going to make trading a little bit harder for Roach, but he will soon enough have either his Leandries or Haunting Guys or Rylai's, whichever he chooses to go for first with those components that he picked up on his first back. Either way, it'll be helping him in the damage department. And I'm curious to see so far. Look at the ward coverage on the bottom side of the map. 3 deep pink wards. Graves, red, and the side of Frost are not allowing anything to go on, though. That's a Shrima shuffle with Shockwave as Hypochondriac picks up the solo kill.
That's pain. Oh no, it's continuing.
Oh no.
Stays alive though. All right, so that's a shining light at the end of the tunnel. It does highlight a very critical aspect of the Hecarim that I have been harping on for weeks. It is not a good pick. I don't care what the professional League of Legenders say. Hecarim is garbage, and the reason being is he cannot contest the other strong picks. When you get a Graves or a Rek'Sai, Sejuani, Lilia, any of these higher tempo junglers that farm faster than you, do damage earlier than you, and can bully you out of your jungle and your lanes, the Hecarim does not get going. And Hecarim is only useful after Trinity Force. Like, there needs to be more action from Glaive's jungle.
Yeah, and we do see that Hecarim forgoes the first item, Sheen. A lot of Hecarims will pick that item up first in order to give themselves just a little bit more ganking power, because as you mentioned, they do want to try and make a lead for themselves early on. Hecarim is best once he's able to complete that Trinity Force, and so he needs a huge influx of gold early on in the game in order to try and get towards that Trinity Force early enough that he can keep up with his opposing jungler. But we see he picks up the Phage instead. He's not even running the phase rush here, so he's going to be missing out on a lot of potential early game damage. He's not going to have the extra movement speed from that phase rush. He's not going to have the extra auto attack proc for his E or off of his Qs. So it's going to be really difficult here for Demon, who's now fallen a little bit behind both in farm and in terms of tempo of this game. So I'm curious to see how he makes this pick work as another Shreemal Shuffle comes in. Red is in the mid lane. Shockwave does land this time in order to buy some time, so the smoke screen comes down, and that's going to be yet another kill picked up by Hypochondriac.
Yeah, and what's great about this Azir pick is that typically you see not phase rush. Why can't I think? The other blue attack speed one. Well, there's Halo Blades, there's Lethal Tempo are picked up, and there's not Phase Rush. Phase Rush is bad. But we're actually seeing Conqueror, which is super interesting to me because it doesn't give you too many of those insta stacks like the Halo Blades or the Lethal Tempo does, but it gives you so much of that like machine gun DPS that you can see in a lot of mid laners like Cassiopeia, and it also gives you a little bit of healing on the side as well. So if you're able to survive the potential initial burst coming out of this Hecarim Orianna combo, then you can heal it back up. You can get the Dark Passage shield. You can start pumping out tons and tons of damage and just be really self-reliant at that point. And so Hypochondriac is winning these mid lane trades effectively without a keystone right now, whereas Kakari has that phase rush, can land three quick hits, get that speed boost and get away from the soldiers. But Hypochondriac is just chasing them down, poking them out, doing enough damage that any second you can get the jungler in. Red shows up, does a little bit of damage, and right now it's 2-0 versus 0-2 in favor of Catalyst Frost.
And this is what we were talking about in the pregame and on the analyst test, that we want to see a team that is able to match the early game aggression that Glaive pulls out here. And looking at the itemization so far, double tier items coming in from Glaive, they're not actually playing their normal super hyper aggressive early game. We do have a flash coming out by Issei though. He's trying to get onto Red. The Shockwave comes in. That's going to be the pull back. That's going to be the showstopper. All the ultimates committed on that one as they pick up Red around this bottom side dragon. It is going to be the second Drake of the game, so the Ocean Dragon will be the reward for Glaive here. And now we get to see, is it going to be a Mountain Rift or is it going to be a Wind Soul? I am personally hoping for a Mountain Soul. That would just help out Catalyst Frost so hugely here when it comes to being able to play these mid-game team fights.
And it's actually going to be Cloud Soul, so not quite so much. Definitely more beneficial towards that Glaive Black squad.
I can hope.
Having these move speed bonuses around the buffs in the jungle. Hecarim, obviously, the biggest, recipient of a buff there, because you do get the bonus attack damage and, just general move speed to help you out, positioning your charge and your Onslaught of Shadows. And the cooldown reduction is nice. Whoever team can claim the soul does get 30% additional ultimate cooldown, which if you're looking at Glaive Black, they are salivating. Like, they have 5 game-changing, amazing ultimates that they would love an additional 30% cooldown on, and they're gonna be fiending for them because they have a bit of scaling in them. They have the double tier build like you were talking about. They have the Hecarim and the Ornn. Like, all of these signal that they're looking for these post 30-minute team fights.
Ooh, Dibble here might get caught out, but he takes the blast cone to safety. But as you were saying, indeed, it is going to be Glaive that really wants to start picking up these win souls. You can look at the Hecarim synergy, you can look at all the ult synergies that they have, but Winsoul isn't too bad of a Drake for the side of Frost either here. They do have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Wall of Soldiers for Azir as well. A lot of impact for ultimates in their own right if they're able to use them correctly. And with the Essence Reaver build coming out from Alex here, already picking up that first item for himself, he's going to be looking to play more of that utility style. He wants to be using these arrows on cooldown to force fights for his team. I'm a little sad to say we haven't seen an arrow yet. We haven't seen the bot side of Frost try and force a fight onto this Ezreal just quite yet, but it is something that they're going to be looking forward to as well. And I like to see that, considering that we were mentioning earlier, there's not really a true form of hard engage. So picking up that cooldown reduction on Ashe is going to give them more enchanted crystal arrows and open up more avenues for them to try and force fights on their terms.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little counterproductive, but Ashe is the hard engage. Like, the Ashe Enchanted Crystal Arrow right now is their biggest thing to start a fight. If you can follow that up with a Shrima Shuffle, with a Death Sentence, or even a Smokescreen to a degree.
Shockwave coming out. That's the Hecarim Onslaught of Shadows. Is it going to be a capable safe? There it is. The flash and the soldier walls coming up. But Issei, he's running in, speedy man, and he finds the ultimate, but it's going to be an auto attack from Kakari that is able to find that one shutdown going over to the mid laner of Glaive.
Yeah, Issei ultimately gaining the kill presence there by showing up, getting the showstopper on. All of that work was done by Demon, though. Tons of damage out of that completed Trinity Force. That's exactly what I said. The champion now exists because they built an item, as we do see Enchanted Crystal Arrow into flash combo, and Kakari goes down for the third time this game.
Yeah, great punish there. The flash from Kakari had been used in order to pick up that kill in the mid lane, and with that, the rotation from the bot lane of Frost means they will be able to pick up first brick here. Issei trying to do his best to stop this one, but it's going to be too little too late, as first brick will be picked up by Alex and Cloud, so they're going to get a nice boost of gold into their pocket as well, and so far, things are looking good for Frost, our underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the gold, getting the first brick there actually brings the 80 carries about even. There is still a slight lead over on Kiba, who does also have 2 kills, but also has about a wave advantage in CS as well. So, they've earned about a 300 gold advantage there. But Tower bringing them so much closer together. The cull's now complete for Kiba as well. They're feeling pretty good economically. They're going to be able to back soon, pick up the next portion of their Trinity Force, and they're well on their way to being that Ezreal everybody's afraid of, whereas the Ashe doesn't really have to do much more this game. Like, you can now be that ultimate bot that sets up Hypochondriac, that sets up Red, to really dominate these objective fights and these team fights.
Yeah, and you really do need Kiba to start coming online for the side of Glaive here, with Orianna sitting at 1 and 3. It is They're putting your Orianna a bit behind in this situation. Hypochondriac doing a great job of punishing in the mid lane. We do see a lot of members from Glaive starting to gather around this bottom side, as the Dragon will be spawning in under a minute here, and they're already trying to get the ward coverage set up. We do see a few deep pink wards from both of these teams coming out in order to try and start getting that coverage, but nothing in the pit just quite yet, as the top laner from Frost is already making his way down.
Yeah, no teleport available just yet. Wouldn't be available for the Dragon, so you do need to be there for your team. It does mean that Hypochondriac has to force the TP if they want to back, though. You saw them cancel it at about 50 seconds remaining. And so now, unless they can stall it out, they have to teleport in, and you can see it being channeled both the mid and the top side, respectively.
Ooh, great smite coming up by Red there in order to finish off that Dragon, but it's going to be the post fight that comes in here. Issei is going deep. The Death Realm is pulled out, and Roach is trying to take the 1v1 versus Demon, but the rest of his team has abandoned him. Is he going to at least be able to pick up the kill? He does find it. He flashes away, but the knockup comes in from Ornn. He's not going to be able to live much longer, as Dibble finds that one. Issei dropping down extremely low, is forced to flash away from himself. The shockwave comes in. There's the Shrima Shuffle, and Hypochondriac finds 3. He's going to get the help from the rest of his team. Kiba running away for the rest of his life. The Azir doing his best to sacrifice for the team, and it is going to be a 4-for-3 at the end of the day, but Drake is picked up by Frost, and they have the kill advantage as well.
Yeah, each team's carry doing everything in their power to keep them relevant in that fight. They had the amazing Ornn Horn coming out from Dibble, the first portion connecting onto 3 members, the second one as well, just really setting up that team fight super cleanly. You do get, a little bit of damage coming down. They get the first blood, and then you see Hypochondriac shuffling their feet off, getting multiple members, actually boosting Kakari over the wall, and we're going to get another look at it in just a second as well, because that shuffle, putting Kakari over the wall, is what killed them. If they hadn't gone over that wall, then the Graves wouldn't have been able to hit them with an auto attack at the same time. And look at this, unstoppable force in, doesn't hit anything. The collateral damage over the wall, and Roach barely able to get the kill after the ultimate ends, can't grab the dark passage, excuse me, and so ends up going down for it. Shockwave only lands onto one member, immediately shuffled back in, and the wall giving a perfect end of the line stopper there for Red. As you can see, a little bit more happens afterwards. And overall, I mean, Kiba still managing to get a kill there in the 1v2. That's pretty nutty. Oh, look at this!
Oh my goodness. Alex goes down in a skirmish in the mid lane. So much damage coming out of Kiba here. He has the completed Mira mana, so he's feeling himself quite nicely tonight. Cloud going to be dived underneath the turret here, but is going to be able to walk away with this life. Rift Herald has been dropped on the top side as 3 members from Glaive are gathered around this mid lane in order to trade turrets, but there is a Herald advantage on the top side of this map here. How much is Frost willing to trade here in order to keep this Herald going? Shockwave was going to buy just a little bit of time, and that means that Frost has to back off as 3 members, still going strong in the mid lane.
So they actually trade 1 tower for 2 and a kill being picked up there by Kiba, who is just pumping out so much damage right now. Has had the Mira mana completed for almost 4 minutes. Completed it at 17 on the dot.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out. It's not going to find much, and Issei walks away with his life. Cloud going to take a couple more Mystic shots for his trouble on the way through. We do see some pings coming out towards this bottom side of the map as Roach and Dibble are just playing the side lanes, top lane island, transition down to the bot side. They want a little bit new scenery for themselves. So all around the board, though, this is a pretty back and forth game as we have just a 200 gold lead. Minuscule amount of gold difference between these two teams. It is in the favor of Glaive Black here, and a lot of that is going to be in the hands of Kiba. We saw how much damage he was able to do to Alex there with just a comboed Mystic shot off of his W, and so you got to really keep your eyes out for this Ezreal. If you're looking for those Enchanted Crystal Arrows, you know who your target is.
Yeah, I mean, Kiba's shown how well they can play on the Ezreal before. We've seen it for a couple weeks now. And Ezreal in itself as a character right now is incredibly strong once you start picking up these items. You know, landing a single Mystic shot can just really change a team fight. And, you know, obviously you have to land it, but it's really not that hard, and you're doing so much damage right now. And with everybody on the Catalyst Frost side right now being relatively squishy as they set up around this next dragon, they need to keep Ezreal in mind in their battle plan. They can't just, you know, start up the dragon and try and just 5v5 it or bait it out, because they're just going to get whittled away with Mystic shots and command attacks, and they don't really have much HP to begin with.
Yeah, no. Kiba was able to scale up into this game. He picked up the early tier that we mentioned after getting double killed on the bottom side, and we were saying, you know, he's going to look to be playing weak side, but there's no summoners available. Maybe we can expect some kind of punishment to come out from Frost here. Unfortunately, Red never found his way back towards that bottom side of the map. Instead, putting his priority in the mid lane, getting Hypochondriac ahead, and because of that, now we see Kiba, you know, 10-15 minutes later, and how powerful he is. Upgraded Trinity Force with the Ornament power up, a completed Mira mana for himself as well. This man is going to be pumping out the damage. What is Frost going to be able to do for themselves as they start to gather around this 4th Drake of the game, and it is Glaive that has the inside track? Are they going to even try and contest this one, or are they just going to let this one go over? It seems like they don't want to force the fight, but that's going to be a step forward from Red. The Ornhorn comes out. It's going to be able to find 2. Is there going to be a continuation on this one? No. Dibble finds himself deep. Meanwhile, on the backside, that's a Shurima shuffle. Hypochondriac is trying to get his team in on this one, but in the death realm, Roach is being forced to use the Zanya's Demon is running wild. He is running loose, and Kiba has stayed alive this entire time, and it's going to be 3 kills picked up. No, make that 4 for the side of Glaive, with Demon being the only sacrifice.
Kiba is just so strong right now. So much damage coming out, even in a really bad fight there for Glaive Black. They somehow come out ahead at the end of the day. They get the dragon, they get the turret, and so it may have looked like it was a good fight for them, but it started off pretty poor. As we head into the replay, we can see that they're set up pretty good. They're guaranteed to get it. Huge 2-man knockup. It is the carry there that gets locked up by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. 2 members on the Ornhorn. And so the Orianna not really involved here. And as we look here, we do see Roach being forced to Zonias out of the Shadow Realm. Can't really make up much after that. Meanwhile, the Glaive Black jungler on Demon's, Hecarim somehow gets the kill onto the Azir after they shuffled in. And without the Ashe being involved in that fight due to the Ornhorn, there wasn't any consistent DPS outside of that.
Yeah, unfortunate situations for the carries of Frost there. Hypochondriac trying to do his best with that shuffle on the backside, but you cannot continuously throw your Azir into all of the opposing team when he is one of your hyper carries as well. Ashe and Graves weren't able to deal the damage, and meanwhile Hypochondriac was forced to sacrifice his life for what was hopefully the big boy plays, but it was unfortunate that there was no one there to help him out when it came to the damage department. And with that, we do have a little bit of an invade here. Cloud's getting caught out. He's going to be taking a lot of damage. There's the Arcane Barrage, and Kiba will find a quick pick there. Issei helping out with that one as well. Meanwhile, we're looking back bot lane. Still the split push. Not much going on there. So, another quick kill picked up by the side of Glaive.
Yeah, so one thing, we're starting to see Dibble actually win these trades in the bottom lane, which is absolute disaster. Issei going for more blood.
Oh no, Hypochondriac, this is not the position you want to be in. He gets jumped on. Demon finds the kill there, and Red has to use the ultimate in order to get out of there alive. Kibe is dropped down extremely low. Ornhorn is used. Is it going to be able to find Red? Just barely not, as he dashes away from that one. Ornn did have to use the teleport in order to make his way onto this top side of the map, but it seems like this is going to be the Baron call for Glaive here. Kibe does not need to take any damage from this Baron, so it does not matter if he is low, but will there be a reaction from Frost?
With where Ornn is, I'm not even sure they know this is being done. Yeah, they have the one ward here in the river entrance bush, but it doesn't show that they're on the Baron. It just shows that they're walking out of your jungle. Ornn is drawing a ton of attention. Issei is going to join them. So this is going to be an absolutely free Baron. And you actually see Kiba come back full HP, looking for more blood. And a lot of the problems that Frost is finding themselves, falling down to is the fact that they don't have a hard crowd control tank option. Because what's happening is these team fights are starting. They're getting a neat little start to it where they go pretty evenly, and then they're like, all right, Hypochondriac has the play, we're gonna do super amazing things, Shurima's Shuffle is gonna hit everybody, and that happens. What happens is, because their only damage is now in the middle of the enemy team, Glaive Black's like, oh, just kill him. And so they once they kill him, the only one remaining is Alex, who after getting that double kill hasn't really done a whole lot, has moved from 2-0 to now 3-1-4, has the 2 completed items, doesn't have any additional attack speed just yet though, and is being forced out of these fights almost entirely by just Dibble being, a hard crowd control tank.
Just Ornn things, you know what I mean? Stand in front of them. What are they going to do? Walk past you? I don't think so. And yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we were talking about when it came to this Mordekaiser in the mid game. He did have a good ultimate earlier on where he was able to catch out Demon, pick up that kill, and make his way out of the fight. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make it out alive, but that's the kind of play that you're going to see from Mordekaiser. However, when there's multiple threats coming in particular, Dibble playing frontline and Kiba just throwing in Mystic shots from the backside, who do you take out of that fight? You can either choose to take the Ornn out, which I think is probably your best bet in this situation, stop him from playing that front line, or you can try and make the risky play like Hypochondriac has so far. That's going to be a flash shockwave engaged by Issei there. Quick pick off on the Hypochondriac. He is going to be going down, will not be up and available for the upcoming fight. Kakari is in the death realm with Rochi, flashes over the wall, and it is picked up by Alex, who was in the right place at the right time. Kibe comes over the wall himself. He's able to pick up the Ashe. He's continuing this one forward. This man says, I am so strong, it does not matter if I play in melee range, I will still beat you, as another successful team fight for Glaive.
It is going to be soul point for them as well, and not much more you can do there other than get some deeper wards in your own jungle, flash over the wall, shockwave onto your main carry, into showstopper. There's just too much to deal with at that point. And we're seeing that the Orianna, who has had a rough time, reminding us that Orianna's just always relevant, right? Can't even die 1v1 to Roach. Yeah, they had to flash, but they're alive. That's what matters. They survived the death realm. They then draw attention from Alex to force them away from the tower, which then lets Kiba hop the wall, do 1 billion damage, get more kills under their belt. And you know what the most distressing thing about this Glaive Black team right now is that I called their jungler pick garbage. And now he's 2-3-7, potentially winning the game for the team. And I just kind of look silly, even though he didn't do anything till he got the Trinity Force.
That sometimes is all it takes. If laners are allowed to wait for item power spikes, why can't junglers? Well, I mean, obviously because you want them to have some more early game pressure, but I digress. And if we look across the board as well, Dibble is level 16. We can look through the itemization. Upgraded Trinity Force for the Hecarim, upgraded Rabadon's Death Cap for Orianna, and upgraded Trinity Force for the Ezreal. He has empowered his team. This late game scaling composition with the double tier itemization that we were mentioning in the early game has come online on top of the ornaments. And so at this point, you know, you look at Ezreal, not the best DPS AD carry. You look at Orianna, not the best burst mage. But when they have these ornaments, when they have these huge power spikes for themselves that were allowed to scale into this point of the game, they're going to start doing a little bit of damage. And Hecarim also now being able to play that front line, he did go for the Conqueror and has the Death Stance for himself. So they are looking very pretty on the side of Glaive.
Glaive is very easily...
Ooh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow does come out. It's going to find Issei, not the target you want it to be on. The pullback, though, is going to chunk out the set. He has to use the Haymaker, but it's only going to find the Mordekaiser. Is the support going to win the 1v1 on the Death Realm? But it does not matter because Hypochondriacs is going to be going down to Kakari. That's going to be the Ornhorn coming in very late from the backside. That's the TP flank with the double knockup. It is a decimation for the side of Glaive here. And all along, Issei taking the 1v1 versus the enemy top laner. Barely loses out to one more decimating smashes. Red, the last member left alive for the side of Frost. He is trying to kite this one out as best he can with a red buff, but one more decimating charge from Damon is going to pick up the ace, and all they lose is Issei, their support.
They might actually be able to end here, and just absolute smoke show coming out from Demon there. All of Catalyst Frost funneled directly into that tri-bush there, even though Roach goes to the Shadow Realm to get beat up by, you know, a little man and covered in feathers. Like, the Hecarim then just gets an absolutely amazing 3-man devastating charge, Onslaught of Shadows, fears everybody, does 1 billion damage comboed with the True Shot Barrage, and then any surviving members at that point now have to deal with the Dibble teleport flank and just connect 2 members on the Ornhorn, then gets the charge knock up, then gets the brittle proc, and it's just, there's so much damage coming out of that quote-unquote tanky setup there. And after that, you know, they get the ace, they push on through to the victory. They don't even need the second Baron, they're just going for the throat.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, game 1 between our 2 undefeated teams has come to a close. Glaive Black, as we predicted, is going to be our successors for this first game of this series. But for more of a breakdown and analysis for this game, we're going to throw it over to the analyst desk, brought to you by Mac, Dewey, and Tryhard.
That was a doozy of a first game. Try hard. For the first time, it wasn't a total failure for the side of Catalyst Frost. They managed to do the unthinkable. They pushed Glaive Black beyond the 30-minute mark. It's just, I didn't think we'd get here. We did it. But
kind of incredible. First one to do it. You know, it's a loss still. You know, at the end of the day, you hate to see the 1 addition in your L column, but you know, being the only ones to do that, you got to take some amount of pride in that. That early game was looking mighty good.
The fight started off good, especially if we want to start all the way where Catalyst Frost was actually a little bit ahead in the early game against Glaive Black. Red had some really solid ganks in that bot lane, able to answer the early aggression coming out of Glaive.
True, getting the response gank on early with the Ashe, getting her up, and then showing twice in the mid lane to kill the Orianna. Kakari falling victim to the Shurima shuffle twice by Hypochondriac.
Right. And it was really interesting to kind of see how this game developed. One thing we noticed was Alex's positioning on the Ashe and what he was able to do in this game. It was around these big objectives that Dibble from the side of Glaive Black, that Ornn kind of took over the game, and Alex wasn't able to do a whole lot.
Yeah, kind of useless, you know. At some point, you can't walk up, and then even if you do manage to get autos off it, you know, you're hitting them with a Nerf gun. It doesn't really do much.
Yeah, he did go for that Infinity Edge Essence Reaver into the Ruin's third item to round the core items off. We were maybe thinking could have gone for that Blade of the Ruined King to really chunk down and maybe get Dibble to be a little more worrisome about where he's walking around, because it was around that big dragon fight that I think Glaive Black, they were able to take over. Dibble was pretty much 1v3ing that fight while Kiba was just trying to survive in the Death Realm.
True. For a moment there, it looked like Catalyst had a moment of hope there with the Death Realm and the late Shurima Shuffle, but Hypochondriac, same as Alex, I feel like he kind of whiffed it on the itemization. If you were going to be the only source of damage for your team like that, and you were going to consistently throw yourself into the middle of them,
right?
You got to have that Zonias. It's imperative.
And it was the Catalyst Frost damage dealers that just eventually got blown up, and it started becoming the Kiba show just a little bit, making the small outplays, just getting so far ahead. And once the Trinity Force and Death's Dance were online, you just couldn't catch up to that Ezreal.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to ever do much about that. Along with Ezreal, I was also impressed with Demon, regardless of getting kind of outclassed a little bit as far as impact around the map goes. Mm-hmm. By Red Earth, he was able to get a 20 CS lead at 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's speaks volumes. It was a little bit of a late Trinity Force, or at least it wasn't blazing fast, right? Demon did get killed in that bot lane gank to start off the match, but he did manage to pick up an assist, got a Phage online really early, and then got the Trinity Force completed in under 20 minutes. Is certainly where you don't mind being in Demon. Able to get onto the back line, and I think kudos to Kiba and Kakari on the back line, but I think a lot of attention and a lot of praise has to be thrown to this front line from the side of Glaive and what they were able to do to manage the fights.
Very true. You can't do anything if you can't get past that Ornn.
Really, and this is a best of 3 here for the mid league here on Tuesdays. Glaive Black moving to 11-0 on the season so far, 5-0 in terms of series. But Catalyst Frost, they have been here. This isn't new territory. Even just last week, they dropped the first game against Glacial Rising Phoenix. Maybe they've warmed up a little bit, dusted off some of the frost, and could come into game 2 much more ready. What are you looking for, Try Hard, for some of the changes going into the second match?
I would like to see the itemization kind of flow with how the state of the game is going. You know, you
Sure.
have those the items that you go into every game looking to build, but you also got to take into account how the game's going at that moment. Now, who knows the outcome? It may have just been the exact same, you know, and you never
Yeah.
know. But something has got to be done. Or if I'm Glaive, I'm perfectly content with how that goes. I'm gonna run it. I'm just gonna run it back. Show me you can beat it. Show me you can beat it before we move on to something else.
Yeah, and they've now got that breathing room. They've shown that, hey, Frost, you've got to deal with this composition we've got put together. Kakari on the Ori, another solid performance. Kiba has been dominating on this Ezreal on all season. Really kind of shocked it once again made its way through. I think that's been a lot of games. It's been consistent throughout this season. Teams giving up the Ezreal in game number 1, and Glaive Black taking that free coupon straight to the bank and cashing in really nicely. It will be interesting. It was an Ashe Ezreal matchup. We talked about Alex a little bit and how he really wasn't able to have an impact in the team fights. Not the same way Kiba was. Didn't get to check out the damage charts from that previous match, but I'm sure it told quite the story. And so what do you think could be a potential pick to run into this huge front line, the Ornn, the Hecarim? What could Alex do? We have seen the Twitch from him. Do you think that's a good option, or maybe something else?
I mean, you're looking at your options, right? You can always just build the build that is a tank killer build. If you're trying to go for specific champions, Twitch is always also a good one.
Right.
I don't have very much visual experience with these teams and seeing who their picks are.
Yeah.
But you have to get something to go through that front line. You could also look for some. Oh, sorry.
We are getting ready for picks and bans for game number 2. The sides, as you can see on screen, are going to be swapped. Catalyst Frost going to be on the blue side. If you're Glaive Black, try hard. What do you maybe thinking you could save for the counter pick? Or which lane do you want them to prioritize?
You kept the Hecarim from last game. If you can keep that, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
As said before, man, Catalyst has to prove that they can stop it. Catalyst has to prove that they can stop it.
Yeah.
They are now down 1 game. If I'm Glaive, I'm not necessarily taking my foot off their necks, taking my foot off the gas. Yeah. But I'm definitely holding steady, and I'm not panicking in any way. If they don't come here with certain bans for Glaive to try to force them into some type of uneasy playstyle, or something that maybe they're not specifically good at, then I don't see Catalyst really holding a chance here.
It was interesting to watch the mid-jungle synergy really shine in game number 1 for Catalyst Frost. I think that kind of went under the radar after Glaive just was able to dominate team fights. There was a lot of solid setup from Hypochondriac and Red working together using that Emperor's Divide there on the Azir to shut down Kokari a little bit, and it wasn't until the team fight started going Glaive's way that the Orianna really ramped up in damage. It was there was a chance there, I think, for Catalyst to kind of run away with things in the mid lane, but we did see some mis-executions. That's something we talked about during picks and bans last time around Try Hard, that you have this Mordekaiser, you have the Azir, and even the Graves, really difficult champions, especially in the team fights. We did see some struggling. Maybe they tried to dumb things down a little. Maybe they themselves look for the Orianna. The Lucian's going to be banned away, as well as the Galio away from Issei.
The Ezreal ban coming in.
Really like to see that adaptation. Not going to let Kiba get his hands on that champion once again, but that does mean from the side of Catalyst Frost, they're letting the LeBlanc go unbanned in here in game number 2.
And Hecarim bans out or Glaive bans out their own Hecarim. So I wonder what they've got in store for this.
The first pick, I think, could be used for the jungle. I think a pick that could show up here now that Glaive is on the red side is maybe Shen. It's been quite a staple in Dibble's champion pool. The Ornn is also still around, though. We were talking about, I think the replays showed it really nicely, how Dibble was able to take over fights. The Graves is going to be locked in for red once again. Would like to see a little bit more out of this Graves pick.
The red, in my opinion, did a pretty good job around the map of getting decent early game leads and using his impact. I would like to see maybe a team more akin to enabling him to go and do more.
Yeah, the Sejuani one-trick demon put once again onto the board to ride into this one. Will be interesting. How do you think this matches up? I think Red didn't go crazy in terms of the CS department. He wasn't able to develop a huge advantage into the Hecarim. Do you think he's going to be able to have a little bit of an easier time doing that against the Sejuani?
I do believe so. If we, you look at the Graves, there's definitely a lot more capability of clearing camps with more, Q and the W, regardless how little damage that does. But definitely more damage up within the Sejuani. Whereas the Sejuani, you really got to worry about her coming around the map and impacting your own lane. Oh, the Quinn.
Is this that seemed like a confident lock-in.
That was pretty quick.
We'll have to see. Gonna check out. Quinn is Senna. Confirmed. It is a Senna lock-in from the side of Catalyst Frost. It is not going to be Quinn. Senna is locked in to go up against Misfortune. Paired with the Braum, it's a lot of utility out of this bot lane. And it's quite safe. I actually really like this from the side of Frost.
For sure. You saw them last game fighting a lot on the back foot. Getting this Senna and this Braum pick definitely allows them to kind of feel more at home in the back foot.
Just gonna make sure, chat, just in case anyone's got it muted and no one wants to listen to our lovely voices, just want to make sure it's clear. Quinn is Senna. As we get into the second phase of bans, we do see it was a Lulu locked in before this second round in the Ornn band away. Things starting, Glaive Black really hitting us with a different picture, you know. Tryhard, we were talking a little bit maybe that Glaive didn't really feel like they needed to adapt, but they didn't place a lot of priority on these picks from the previous match. The Ezreal set duo combination was banned away just because the Ezreal was taken off of the board. What do you think about this Misfortune Lulu pairing up as Diana is locked in here? I think that's not a misclick. That is going to be Diana for most likely the mid lane.
Spicy, spicy indeed. The Lulu, I am actually a support main, a hard stuck plat trash can, player, but I'm not a big fan of the Lulu. Although I do have to admit the use of polymorph can absolutely change everything in just a split second. So regardless of how of what you are wanting to do, you always have to take in consideration that polymorph being able to come up at a moment's notice.
Yeah, it could also be Lulu top. I want to throw that out there. I might be crazy, but I think it shouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But I think it will be interesting what gets picked into this Renekton, because that's a champion that Dibble has played a lot, or at least a bit, this season in the mid league. The Omni-Stoned Anivia being hovered, Dibble potentially wanting his 20 RP gift from Fnatic. No, it is going to be a Volibear. All right, it is Lulu support Volibear for the top lane. The Bruiser matchup. I think that Volibear shouldn't be too bad into the Renekton, but you obviously still have to worry, especially on the side of Glaive Black getting dominated. How do you think about this 2v2 matchup in the top side of the map? The Renekton Graves going toe-to-toe with Volibear and Sejuani.
I'm always going to prefer the Renekton. I know the Volibear is also very useful, and God, if Volibear gets ahead, you're not going to... Well, both ways. If the Renekton also gets ahead, you're not going to have a fun time.
You're right.
But Dibble definitely showing off his tank mechanics in the last game. You saw a kind of similar playstyle from the Mordekaiser, or like you would have liked to have seen a little more solo lane, carry potential or some type of impact. But getting this Renekton now, you're almost guaranteeing yourself to either have to force yourself to be useful, or just not play well. Like there's no there's no other. You got to be aggressive on the Renekton. There's no other reason to pick it.
Exactly. I like that idea. There's no other reason. If you want to look for a different strategy, there are a lot of top laners taken off of the board, and I specifically like the Renekton in this case, as it does take away from Dibble's pool just a little bit, but you still have to go into the Rift with the mindset that Roach and Red need to be making aggressive plays happen in the early game. Again, it could be difficult against this Volibear Sejuani that are quite difficult to kill in the early stages of the game, and it just gets harder as the game progresses. They do have a window of opportunity if Red once again does a good job of staying in path with Demon like he was in game number 1, where he was able to make that first gank in the bot side of the map work.
Yeah, for sure. and that's always nice to see.
Your emperor shall
Yeah,
return.
what is after getting a little bit of a taste, try hard of these two teams? Which of these, as we do see the champions locked in here in the client champion select, what is? Do you have a lane you're going to be keeping a close watch on in this one?
I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out on mid. Kakari overextended a couple times, got caught out by the Azir Graves combo.
Right.
Not going to have the mobility of the Azir you'll have the mobility, but you won't have the utility of the Shurima Shuffle to push multiple people back into your team like we saw before. But just as potent in that 1v1, 2v1 if you bring your jungler matchup with the Diana Sejuani versus Ahri Graves. Definitely want to see that Graves get that Ahri back out to another, or get Hypochondriac out to another lead. That'd be nice to see.
Yeah, once again, Hypochondriac, the star here on the Catalyst Frost roster, getting his hands on a playmaking champion in the Ahri. Will be looking once again to make those plays happen. He does it. It's not as easy this time around. You have to land the charm. Can't just throw out the Emperor's Divide to put Kakari out of position. And there's also the Diana shield she gets from her ultimate, I believe, in her W. Maybe just the W. Try hard. Am I crazy? Is it just the W, or does her ultimate also give a shield? It's been a while since I've seen Diana on stream. I got to be honest. This is kind of a spicy pick coming through from Glaive Black.
I believe it's just a W, but I could also just as easily be wrong.
Only hindsight will be 2020. We'll find out as we load on into the game. You won't want to click out of that browser. Catalyst Frost, they showed some fight in them against Glaive Black. You can't write this one off just yet. It's a best of 3, or will we see 2-0 Tuesdays continue here over in the mid league at Excellency Esports? We are going to kick it over to the Rift, where Loud Thoughts and Doctor are ecstatically waiting for the start of this next match. We will be right back. We're good, right? Or no? Oh, we're still chilling. We're not good. Okay. I'll just be quiet.
one.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 2 here at Mid-League, or at Midweight Excellency League. We're going to be hopping into this match between Catalyst Frost and Glaive Black. On the blue side this time around, we do have Catalyst Frost with OG Roach playing Renekton in the top lane, CE Red on Graves in the jungle, Hypochondriac on his Arya in the mid lane, and Alex and Cloud with the Senna Baram in the bot lane.
Meanwhile, on this red side, we do have Glaive Black with Dibble storming it down the top lane. Damon coming out of the shadows from the jungle. Kakari mooning it up in the mid lane. And then that Kiba Issei bot lane just ripping and tearing.
And it's going to be an exciting game here. We did have the closest series so far out of Glaive here, bringing it beyond that 30-minute mark, as we were mentioning on the analyst desk. I am excited to see what is Frost's going to attempt this game around. They did decide to bring the Graves back into the picture here, but outside of that, every pick this game is a new one from the last. So both of these teams deciding to really change up their drafts, and it's going to be interesting to see how both of these teams are able to pilot these different compositions.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at just the picks, you're like, yeah, they're different outside of Graves, who's going to do Graves things. But I think when you boil them down to their cores, the team compositions kind of have the same thought process and victory conditions. Glaive Black still going to be scaling up, looking for those late game team fights, whereas, Catalyst Frost right now, yeah, they have a bit of scaling with the Senna and the Ahri, but overall they're more of a mid-early game focused composition where they need to get ahead, stay ahead, and then continue to force picks around objectives and not so much team fights. They do have really... Oh.
Go for it.
I was going to say their skirmishing is really good because they have the Senna heal, but when it comes to just full-on 5-on-5 brawls, the Volibear-Sejuani combo are just going to be too much to handle.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of CC coming out of those two. I like to see that Volibear has another tank, another dive buddy to go with him, and somebody that's going to be able to force fights for him. Volibear, not necessarily the best engager. A lot of people fall into this trap that, oh, Stormbringer gets me into the fights, this is how we win the team fights, but he really likes to be that secondary form of engage. So having the likes of the Sejuani with the Glacial Prison, being able to chuck that one from downtown and play this super frontline will open up a lot of avenues for Dibble to try and play more of the secondary engage, the backup resources, if you will. And so I'm excited to see how this composition will work out, but I do agree with you. Overall, very similar styles, and what I kind of want to see out of Frost this game is I want to see them pull off the same early game they had in the last game, but transition it through the mid game much more cleanly than they did previously, as we do have a bit of a trade going on top side. It looks like Roach is actually going to be losing the back end of this one. Forced to flash away as the grass proc and healing off of the W from Dibble is going to be coming in huge. One more grass proc. The auto attack barely not finishing that one off as Roach is able to walk away with his life. Red is in the top side as well now. Smokescreen comes out. There is no flash available, but Red, you're too squishy at this point in the game. The Ignite is going to be coming out for this Graves. One more auto attack maybe, but no, it goes over to Dibble as he takes the 2v1 for the victory and first blood.
What? Man, there's a lot to unpack there. Let's start off at the initial trade, but we don't even have time for that.
No, we do not. As Demon comes in, that's going to be the dash and flash. Cloud puts up the wall, though, and that is going to be a swift walk away. One more auto attacks are going to get the stun. Double teleports coming out into the bot lane here. Volibear and Renekton will be here for this fight, and Roach is forced to immediately dash away from that one. But that is going to mean no more fight in the bot lane. But check out the wave on the top side. Or actually, you know what? We'll get back to your point.
Yeah, so I mean, going back to that first blood interaction that we saw, Roach thinks they have the advantage. They're going in. They have the, Conqueror proc. They're getting good damage. They're doing things. But at this stage of the game, Renekton is pretty cooldown reliant and doesn't really have too much once you are done with those. Doesn't have the Blade of the Rune King, doesn't have the Black Cleaver, doesn't have gank assistance at that time because Graves came up later.
Ooh,
this is kind of scary.
Yeah, this is a little scary for Demon here. He has no flash available. That's going to be the grenade bounce that's going to find the kill for Red. Finally picking up a kill for the side of Frost early on into this one. So they're keeping themselves a little bit even as Demon falls down. He had used that flash already, so he didn't have that one available.
Yeah, just nice strong play there. You know, a good gank. Didn't need to burn too much. They get the flash out of Hypochondriac, but overall, good gank.
They are just non-stop fighting this game. Cloud dashes forward. One more auto attack will be able to get the stun, but Alex is not able to find that one. So Kiba gets to walk away with his life. Still is also extremely low, but it looks like the bottom lane for Frost does not have that much mana. Meanwhile, topside, Red is going to run into Demon there. We're just bouncing all over the place. It is going to be a collapse on the top side if I look down at the mini map, and it looks like Graves, Red will be able to walk away despite the fact that he had 3 members chasing him.
Yeah, just a very scary situation.
Oh, they don't stop coming. That's going to be a flash and a heal force out of the bottom lane for Glaive here, as Issei stepping just a little too far forward, and Cloud immediately there with the dash for the punish.
Yeah, and so, you know, looking at that escape in the top side, Red being able to walk out from that, incredibly crucial, especially since they don't have a flash. You know, that was something that I never got a chance to touch on from that first blood situation, is that they took Ignite and still lose the 1v1 to the enemy top laner, which is just so disastrous at that point. You know, is able to bring it back a little bit, is greatly out farming Demon at this time and picking up the kill to somewhat equalize at that point. There's sparks of hope. A big concern for me as the game continues on is there's no exhaust. Cloud also opting into an Ignite means that there is nothing, and I mean nothing, stopping Kakari once they get 2 items.
Yeah, Diana, a pick that you don't see too often, but a pick that I personally believe is quite underrated. Her engage potential, her fighting potential is extremely high, and once she's able to complete, it looks like Aroa and that Nashor's Tooth really being a huge part of the pickup alongside that Conqueror, she's going to be able to do so much work in these team fights. But first Drake is going to be picked up by Frost, or by Glaive, I should say. It looks like Frost doesn't want to let them get out with this one alive. There's going to be a lot of damage coming down. Issei going down extremely low on the backside. Hypochondria finds that one with a couple of dashes, and meanwhile, Demon also going down. Kakari trying to run for his life, but one more auto attack from Hypochondriac will be able to pick up that one. And while Glaive may have found the Drake, it is 3 kills for Frost.
Once again, Glaive not playing to their composition's win cons. They did the same thing in game 1, and it looked pretty scary on them for a while because they weren't getting ahead early. They were falling a little bit behind, but they had the scaling to fall back on. You know, they had the double tier composition. Like, so they were able to just weather the storm and bring it out. That was not a fight they needed to take. All they needed to do was get the dragon and get out. Even if you're sacrificing, you know, 1 or 2 members, you didn't all need to commit. Kakari going back in with the dash, dropping the ultimate down, but only sitting on a catalyst. Not a lot of damage there, not a lot of kill threat. And so after that, you get the more mid and early game focused damage out of the Graves, out of the Ahri, and combo that with the Cloud passive. There's just too much at this stage of the game. But I mean, Glaive, they're definitely looking for that run back. They're limit testing the early game to see what they can get away with once they hit that 2 item spike.
Yeah, and this is kind of just the Glaive playstyle that we always talk about. They are a very scrappy team. They always want to be forcing their advantages. They always want to be pushing their limits, trying to see what they can get away with and what will be punished. And I'm glad to see that Frost is able to pick up some of these early game kills for themselves, but it doesn't feel like it's because of what Frost is doing in and of themselves. We're not really seeing a whole lot of proactive play from them, more reactionary. They could have been able to be at that dragon earlier, force a fight on their terms, while also being able to pick up the Drake since they are that early game team comp. So I do still want to see a little bit more coming out from Frost here. I want to see them try and force advantages for themselves and make plays for themselves here, as we do have a trade going on top side. It looks like Graves wants to try and get over this wall, but is not going to find an avenue as Roach just gets chunked out.
Yeah, and right now they're having an issue with lane priority, which will continue to lead into Dragon and Herald situations that go poorly for them. Because they're losing priority in the bot side. Misfortune's clearing waves so much quicker than the Senna, especially if you're using the Glitter Lance to help push that and especially get priority on your side. That is an incredibly difficult thing for Senna Braum to try and stop and push into. Topside, Dibble's just stomping people.
Ooh, we do have Dibble going for the roam, though. Is he going to be able to find anything? No, he has to use the Stormbringer in order to get himself out of that one. The snipe coming in, it does land, but Dibble walks away with a sliver of health. Volleybear is going to be giving up an entire wave on the top side of the map. Does not have teleport either, so Roach getting a nice CS and experience lead as he crashes this wave into the turret and picks up the plating for himself.
Yeah, Dibble using the priority he's been building up after getting, the advantage early on to try and spread the love. Tries to get the mid gank off. Hypochondriac, though, still has the ultimate, able to, get out safely and even turn it thanks to the charm. Tower does a lot of damage when you don't build any armor. And so with forcing Dibble back, you get the plate onto Roach, you get a now 16 CS advantage, and the gold has actually swung towards Roach now, having about 100 gold advantage. And, I don't think it's going to impact the lane.
Oh no, Cloud, he dashes forward right when Demon is here to show up. That's the Glacial Prison. Issei finds the kill, and Cloud is able to find the tricky flash over the wall. Ignite is ticking down, but he should be A-okay. Is he going to get picked off? Issei with the flash. You can't back right there when you're still being chased. Double kill going over to the Lulu support.
I'm just saying, Issei was my pick to watch in the pregame show. And, this is 2 champions in a row now that we've seen excellent success from Issei on. Bit of a question mark ping on Cloud diving forward at that exact moment. Didn't have any river vision, completely blacked out there due to the series of control wards they have set up. And then even after that, just kind of full on separated and sacrificed Alex, to the rest of the gank. Bullet time came through, but Unbreakable just didn't catch any of it. Flashes over the water safely, but goes for the quote unquote risky backsting under tower. A little bit awkward.
Yeah. It do be like that sometimes, though. Unfortunate for the bottom lane of Frost here, but they're still holding themselves a nice 1,000 gold lead. A lot of that will be showing up in the mid lane and jungle. We see Red going towards this bottom side of the map, and Hypochondriac is going to find Demon. That's a forced engage from the bot side of Frost here, and forcing a flash out of Kiba, though. He's going to be able to back away from this one. One more auto attack might be able to get the stun onto Issei, but he walks away from that one scot-free, and Red showing up, but is not going to be able to find anything for themselves except for a little priority for this Infernal Drake that has just spawned onto the map.
I think Cloud might be a little jittery. If they'd waited just like another second and a half, 2 seconds, and done that exact play, I think they get a kill there. Red was in the position to get involved. They were trying to get something going. They end up getting the dragon out of it, which is amazing. But now they're in danger.
Dash forward. Glacial Prison finds its way, but it's only going to find Braum. Cloud is trying to back out of this one. He does find his way to safety, and Hypochondriac playing with fire here as he still has those spirit charges left for himself. Red trying to do as much damage as he can, and the bullet time comes out. That's the teleport, though. Roach finds his way onto Demon. He's able to find one. He pops the ultimate, but the polymorph comes out in order to buy some time. The entire team of Frost here dropping down extremely low, and Dibble is in the back line. He finds one. He finds 2, and Kikari is able to find another. It is a 4-for-1 at the end of the day, and Glaive come out on top.
Oh no, Hypochondriac. Another one too.
Hypochondriac, you can't be there, Chief. Not when your entire team dies. That's gonna be the ace coming out. Graves was able to spawn before the true ace comes in, but we'll give it to him. Oh, hey, look, they got it.
Yeah, they also get the shutdown that Ari had been slowly building up as well, giving it over to Kikari. Let's take a look at that play one more time because it was a little messy. We can see here we're coming in just as the Renekton shows up. Bullet time didn't quite getting a couple people. Never mind. We will be heading right back into the game. But we can still talk about that fight because it was starting off a bit awkward. You had Demon able to get that Glacial Prison in, start the team fight off. They get, some good picks off and some good damage. Roach suddenly shows up and does amazing things. Able to get a ton of damage down onto the carries, tries to go a little bit deeper, but cannot get the kill onto Issei. They get polymorphed, and at that point, you were so removed from the fight. And with the Blade of the Ruin King build, you have no bonus HP. You have no way to stay alive, even with the Dominus. Tried to get out, and it just wasn't enough. Dibble makes their way into the back line, getting onto 2 members with that Stormbringer, and is just so beefy right now, going for this Trinity Force.
Yeah, that's a great charm coming up by Hypochondriac. Is he going to be able to find Kakari? Kakari, though, is able to get the turnaround kill, does find Red for himself. And we were talking about squishy members. Red is definitely one of those. Rift Herald is going to be dropped into the mid lane. A little late for the turret plating, and unfortunately, with Graves going down, they're not even able to pick up the entire turret for themselves. So at the end of the day, it is a 1-for-1, but not a whole lot gained off of a power play made by Frost.
And this is the danger of Diana. Like, the champion, I remember when the rework actually came out, people were like, she's not that good. And then we actually had like Diana mains on the Reddit secretly saying like, guys, she's absolutely broken. As Roach may actually go down here, Stormbringer is still available.
Stormbringer is available, but we're thrown over to the bottom side as a little bit of trading goes back and forth, so nothing's going to be happening on the map. Demon is hovering towards his top side, so if Roach decides to go too far forward here, he will be facing the Fury of the North, and that's going to be the engage that we expected him to try and go for, and the immediate punish coming out from Demon there. Meanwhile, back to bot side, a little bit of trading going back and forth. Cloud, he throws out the Glacial Fissure. He's going to throw up the shield as well in order to back away from that bullet time, and overall, just a trade of a couple of ultimates, but no kills going over. Ooh, one more dash forward. Wants it. That's the pickup. Alex does finally find a kill for himself. Great heads-up play by Cloud.
Yeah, it's just the hyper-aggressive attrition game coming out from Cloud right now. You know, sometimes you miss it, and we see plays like we did earlier. Sometimes you connect, and you get plays like that, where you just absolutely melt the enemy enchanter. You pick up a kill for your marksman, and they start feeling really good about it. And we're back to plays like that. Yeah. Like, it's so, you know, back and forth. Like, sometimes you feel like a god. Sometimes you just miss by a pixel, and you're like, don't worry, guys. I have Hex Flash. I'll do it again. Not this game, but, you know, it's sometimes how it works out. And it's going to be interesting to see how this transitions later into the game when stakes start getting really impactful.
Yeah, Cloud is going to be wanting to play more of that defense game for sure, so hopefully when we start hitting these mid-game team fates, he starts cooling it down just a little bit. A good ice pun coming out from myself, pat on the shoulder, but across the board, the gold lead has swung back into the favor of Glaive here. They're sitting about 1,000 gold up for themselves as the next dragon is going to be spawning in 25 seconds here. Not a whole lot of ward coverage coming in around this bot side objective. We do have a couple of pink wards in this river, though, and already we're seeing Demon making his way down here, but Red is here to try and make something happen in the bot lane. It looks like it's going to be a quick back out, but priority going over to Frost for now.
Yeah, they will trade this for the mid tower, though, which completely unlocks Kakari to just do assassin things on the map, gives them, you know, access to the jungle on either side of the map here. And now they're going to start being able to push out these wards. Charm lands onto Kakari, who's not quite tanky. He only has 5 stacks of that Roa just yet, but it doesn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, and you know, you do gotta wait for that row to start stacking up, but unfortunately, it is still health, it is still stats that Kakari is going to be using to keep himself nice and healthy here. Drake is also going to be picked up by the side of Glaive. Meanwhile, mid lane was traded. Kakari goes down. Great charm by Hypochondriac, is able to find its way onto the Diana, so they will find a pick in the mid lane as well for the side of Frost. Trading a kill and a turret for a turret and dragon, though, it's arguable which one's better.
Yeah, I mean, both teams picking up 2 dragons. We do see Hypochondriac getting a kill, and then we also see the dragon going over to Glaive Black. So I guess at the end of the day, you need to compare, is the kill under your mid laner worth the Earth Dragon singular? You know, not a soul, not soul point, just a singular Earth Dragon. And in a game where you weren't playing for soul anyway, because you traded 1-for-1 on the first 2 dragons, I think the kill onto your assassin-esque mid laner Hypochondriac is actually worth more. You know, you do get a couple stats out of the Mountain Drake onto some of your pseudo tanks like Dibble, your main tank like Demon, but you know, Ahri needs gold. Ahri needs money to pick up the damaged items, to do more damage, to get more gold, to get more damage. And picking up a effective solo kill under the enemy mid laner will go a long way in continuing to get more of those.
Yeah, and you do want to see a lot of that gold going to the Hypochondriac's pocket. He does have the Luden's Echo, double needlessly large rod as well, so working towards that Rabadon's death cap. And you love to see this kind of hyper-aggressive, super damage-focused build coming out from the pseudo-assassin, as you mentioned. When you're facing the likes of Kaiba, who's playing Misfortune, not a mobile AD carry, somebody whose own ultimate makes them sit still for long periods of time, you're going to be looking at Hypochondriac to counteract that. Dash around the bullet time, find the charm, pick off this Misfortune with just sheer amounts of damage. Top side, though, turret will be going down as Renekton went into the bottom side of the map to try and answer this Diana, and Ahri has gone up top side in order to clear out these waves, but it's a little bit of a scary situation for Hypochondriac. I'm not sure if he's able to take Dibble just quite yet.
It's definitely close. You know, Dibble hasn't built up any magic resist yet, only has that one AP threat anyway in the Ahri. So even in, laning phase, you're fighting into...
Ooh, yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. Dibble goes in. He's able to find the stun, but he's not going to find the shield. One more chomp. The Stormbringer comes in. Great dodge, though, coming out by Hypochondriac. He's able to find the charm. Is he going to be able to find enough damage? Flash out. He's going to get one more shield. No, the Spirit Orb does not connect onto Dibble, and that is going to be the trade kill. Dibble is able to walk away. Demon coming in for the moral support at the end of the day, but Ahri goes down for all the summoners and spells she had used.
Yeah, pixel perfect, unfortunate, just barely missing that orb there. Would have given the kill over maybe if the Dawning Shadow had come out a little bit quicker. That's a kill as well. But I mean, we're seeing the strong traits of the Volibear pick. I know in the analyst desk, they were trying to talk about it a little bit and how it compares to the Renekton.
Ooh, is this going to be a pick? Glacial Prisoner lands, and that is going to be red going down. Great ultimate coming out of Demon here. And they might actually be looking towards this Baron now that the jungler's dead.
I mean, this is hyper bold. This is, I don't know. I know, honestly, this is insane. It's looking like they'll be able to get it. We don't really see much movement coming out from Keller's Frost. The teleport in may spur something, as we do see question mark pings onto it, but the teleport comes through. Baron is slain. It's a 22-minute on the dot Baron Nashor off of just a single pick. Like, it wasn't even a teamfight pick. They just found red in the jungle.
Yeah, and Hypochondriac was just coming back onto the map in that situation. Red, the smite for the side of Frost going down as well means that they don't have to worry about the contest on the Baron itself. If the enemy shows up, you just turn around, you take that fight with the numbers advantage, and there wouldn't be a whole lot that Frost would be able to do at this point. And just like that, the gold lead balloons to 4,000 gold in favor of Glaive, and they still have the Baron power play to work through as well, so we'll see how much they're able to get off of this very early big purple worm.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon is in 30 seconds. They'll have the buff up available for that. They'll get the bonus combat stats, and that would make his soul point, and that becomes a scary thought because it is Earth Soul, which on top of giving you those bonus, flat stats, if you get the soul, you also get the shield. And the shield goes such a long way in invalidating all of the work that Hypochondriac has done up until this point, because it gives even the squishiest members a means to survive.
Yeah, we do have a pick going on in the jungle. Fnatic Deathbush. Roach is not going to be able to fall down to just the Glacial Prison, but he's trying to find his way out of this fight. He gets the flash over the wall. He's able to back away from this one. Glacial Fissure does come out by the Braum. Cloud is trying his best to block up this bullet time, but the charm does not connect. Red will be able to find his way onto Demon. Flash over the wall from Kiba in order to finish off this Ahri. Meanwhile, backside of this fight, it is a lot of polymorphs coming out. Cloud is trying to do his best to peel for his team, but Red is just too squishy, and Kakari is able to find his way onto this Graves, finally falling down to the hands of the Diana, and it is yet another successful team fight, 4-for-1 again for Glaive, as they are able to put themselves at soul point.
Yeah, Deathbush working out, not a ton of HP in total on the side of Catalyst Frost, and so with it being a split fight with the Renekton coming up from the bottom side and the rest of the team coming through the Raptor side, it was really a case of who was going to hit the bush first, and because Roach was the one that actually got the ward in, the full commit onto the enemy top laner was called. They get the Glacial Prison into the dash in, into the Glitter Lance, and there's a ton of damage there. They start getting picked apart a little bit by the re-engage of the Glacial Fissure, the Charm, and the collateral damage, and even Hypochondriac had some really nice plays. Got a Charm in, dashed forward, dashed into the Krug camp, and then, found an opportunity to re-engage, and that is when Kiba just wrecked their stuff. Just got that empowered first auto attack, got the second one that crit, didn't even need to flash over the wall, but happened to do it anyway.
You hate to see it. Demon is able to steal away the Scuttle Crab. He finds the Glacial Prism, but there is going to be no follow-up on that one, so a swift dash away from Red puts him into safety, but it's only salt on top of the wounds at this point, stealing away the neutral camps, making sure that there is nothing left for Frost to take as they are sitting at 7,000 gold lead, a 3k profit off of that Baron now that it has finally subsided here, and it's only going to get worse as we continue on because take a look at the items. Diana has completed that Gnasher's Tooth, working towards a Zanyas for herself to keep herself alive when she dives into the backline. Trinity Force Death Dance, Gargoyle Stone Plate, double BF sword items for MF. They are just so far ahead at this point on the side of Glaive.
Yeah, and this is when they can just death group, right? Like we saw the Bush play, but now they can do that even without the Bush. Like as long as they stay at least as a core 3 of Misfortune, Sejuani, Lulu, they can either engage when they want and have the follow-up with the help picks, the Whimsy move speed, plus just strut move speed. And so they can take any fight they want, and they also have enough disengage to really fall back. Diana is in a situation where anybody they said to meet her probably dies. Hypochondriac would have the best chance at doing something. However, now that the Zoni's Hourglass is fully complete, the chances there are a little bit less because you are cooldown reliant. And look at this top lane matchup. This is the only thing left.
Yeah, and even with that, Dibble very handily taking the wins on those one. Kakari is trying to go in. He does find the double Moonfall. That is going to be a swift kill onto Red coming out. Teleport is coming in for Roach, but he's going to be able to get there in time. It does not look like he's going to. It was actually Dibble that was the first one there, but now the late teleport coming in from the Renekton as he comes running in. He's going to get polymorphed as soon as he tries to engage, dropping down extremely low. Does get a heal for himself. Clyde dashing forward to try and save his team, but it's going to be forced to back away from that one. The Braum Shield comes up and we're trying to block some damage, but there's too much coming through. They lose the Renekton. Cloud still trying to buy time. The Zanya's completed. Kakari staying safe underneath turret. Dibble going to be dropping down low. The Ignite coming out, but is not going to be enough. One more turret shot will, though, as Braum is going to be the only person to find a kill for himself. Scratch that. Kiba also went down, but it is a clean fight coming out from the side of Glaive there, and it was looking sloppy, but they made it look so easy.
The Lulu pick is getting so much value, and I mean, if they kill Red here, they might actually just push for the end if they get the ace, the inhibitors here, and it's just so much damage coming out of this squad. And as we look to the replay again, things are, a little strong in the start here. We get Kakari diving in, getting a massive ultimate. Dawning Shadow actually does a lot, comboed with Hypochondriac's damage, getting both sides of the orb onto Kiba, basically deletes him from the fight. Didn't even get the chance to use the bullet time. The re-engage comes through, completely shut down by the polymorph. Just absolutely dunzo. And then look at this, the counter engage to the counter engage. There's so much crowd control and slows and stuns on the side of Glaive right now that with the fairly squishy side of Catalyst Frost, along with only Hypochondriac having any type of movement ability, they're just so run downable. And Issei with the glitter lands, the help picks, the Whimsy, just really sticky, really, really molasses-like, and even finds themselves a double kill in that fight. And the Lulu's not something we've seen a lot of, and it is doing by far and away, so far above expectations.
Yeah, and it's doing so much work in these team fights, and that's what you love to see. And kind of a lot of the core strength for Glaive here is their team fighting, as we see that they like to play these front-to-back team compositions, but they start their fighting even earlier than that. They'd like to get these lane leads. As we saw earlier, they were not doing the best in the early game. A lost fight around this dragon as we do have an engage on the bottom side of the jungle, though Ari having to use her dashes in order to get away from this engage from Demon. It's going to be one charm landing onto the Sejuani, though, and taking a huge chunk of damage, but so tanky at this point with double Mountain Drakes for themselves as they go over the wall to try and find the soul. Is there going to be anything that Frost can do for themselves in order to prevent this one? Drake is down below half health. Dibble is playing the backline defender, though, and one more smite is going to be coming through. That will be picked up from Demon. Meanwhile, at the back of the fight, Kakari goes in. He does find the Grand Moonfall. Is going to be able to get a bunch of damage down. Kaiba is able to find the first kill of this team fight. One more stun is going to be coming out. The QS as will mean that this Misfortune is still moving forward. Dibble trying to go onto the 280 carries on the side of Frost here. He's not going to be able to find them. Instead, is going to be throwing down the shield and the run just to get himself out from underneath this turret range.
No.
A great route underneath turret will mean that Issei finally goes down. The Lulu is no longer there to keep their team alive, and so that is going to be a disengage for the rest of Glaive here. Hypochondriac, though, not trying to let that one happen. He dashes forward, finds a great charm onto Kakari. Now he needs to find his way out. The last charge of that dash, of that Spirit Rush use in order to get her back into the safety of their own base.
Yeah, and that was a must-win dragon fight, and they were so pushed off of the dragon itself that it became really two-fold fight. You know, we saw the initial fight where they were fighting in the jungle wall. The trio of the bottom half of the map was taking on the dragon itself. You know, Dibble just being involved, Kakari going over the wall, being involved, and just, you know, zoning out the entire Frost team. That even after the dragon went down, they weren't able to cleanly disengage. We had Issei flashing over the wall, landing glitter lance, and, you know, using the help pick shield to keep Kakari alive. The Zonia's hourglass really prolonging that as well, giving tons of time for Demon to then hop the wall, land the glacial prison, and for, you know, keep it to, you know, strut through the entrance to the river and suddenly join the team fight. And I mean, we're seeing Roach, you know, who had blinded this Renekton, is just getting bullied. And, you know, there isn't really another word for it. Like, they've been unfortunately down, you know, since level 3 when Red went topside and ended up dying to Dibble and really setting that lane back.
Yeah, it was a very unfortunate early game for Roach here. Locking in the blind, Renekton needs an early lead for himself in order to make that pick work, and giving over an early kill to Dibble when Graves comes up to that top side, doesn't even win the 1v1 with the Ignite, just feels so bad for the Renekton in that situation. It has no way to really catch back up in that lane, and that is going to be another Baron picked up for the side of Glaive for taking that one clean and easy. Meanwhile, bottom side, Red is trying to force a gank onto Dibble here, the split pushing Volley Bear, but he's able to just walk away from this one. No damage, no follow-up from the side of Frost, and this one's feeling like it's pretty doomed at this point. Dibble still continuing forward in a 1v3. Meanwhile, top side of the fight, Sejuani goes underneath turret and then just walks away for free. These Mountain Souls are doing so much work for the tanks and front lines of Glaive. Meanwhile, the whole team fight is going to be breaking out here. That's going to be the Glacial Fissure coming in. Is Demon's going to be dropping down pretty low here? Is there going to be enough damage to follow up, though? No, the Lulu shield comes out, and just like that, Alex is doing no damage. One inhibitor on the top side is going to be going down. The next one will be in this mid lane. If you're on the side of Frost, you have to force something here, but no, they just keep backing off. Flash forward from Dibble. They don't know what they want to do with this fight, it seems like, as the mid lane inhibitor is going to be dropping down any second. Now that one gets finished off, and now the rotation down to the bottom side for the trifecta continues. Dibble goes forward. Kakari in the backline finds forward. That is going to be Roach trying to buy as much time as he can, but Gary is able to finish that one off as he has the rest of his team there and available for help. Everyone from Frost has to go back into the fountain to heal up. Issei is going to be going down off of a great charm, but Demon comes in order to force everyone else away. The bullet time comes out, and it is yet another 2-0 Tuesday. Glaive are continuous undefeated champions of the league, and they continue their 2-0 domination of the midweight league here at Excellency.
Yeah, I mean, they even withstood the temptation for $20 to run Omnistone and Nivea top, and I mean, for their win record, obviously was the correct pick. Dibble going 8-1-7 in that top lane. basically soloing it for a lot of the time. Did get a little bit of assistance from Demon here and then, but I don't know. Dibble was my MVP that map.
Yeah, Dibble putting on a clinic in the top lane of how to play the early game top lane volley bear. You get a lot of back and forth with that pick, but that's enough from us here on the casting desk, as we are going to be throwing it over to the analyst desk, as those guys are going to help us break down the victory here for Glaive in yet another 2-0 sweep.
And another Tuesday, another 2-0. When a couple guarantees in life, death, taxes, and Glaive Black dominating here in the mid league. It was another quality showing from them here. But Catalyst Frost, notably, I think try hard. We have to point out they did put up a valid fight here and really pushed Glaive Black farther than any other team has so far.
Yeah, Catalyst definitely doing more than most, but still not enough, unfortunately. The top, that Volibear, oh my goodness, ridiculous.
Yeah, we saw the early gank coming in there from Red, and the game plan, we were talking about it during draft. We heard Loud Thoughts and Doctor emphasize this as well. When you're locking in the Renekton and you're expecting early game success, and when it doesn't go that way, well, we saw just how bad or rough of a game it can be for Roach.
Yeah, definitely a yikes not being able to pull off that Renekton. If you're looking for anything good to take away for the side of Catalyst, Alex definitely seemed to perform better and definitely helped his team along more. Red and Hypnochondriac definitely had that early synergy again as well going on, but just in the end was not enough to pull it through.
And there were just, I think, a couple skill checks going on, at least that we saw in this one. Especially, I'm thinking about that mid lane gank that came in from Red, where Kakari, he's the one getting ganked, and he's able to trade 1-for-1 and stay relevant in these team fights. He's able to get that Rod of Ages completed at a decent time, and from there, just pop off. And I think, once again in this match, we had really solid performances from the side of Glaive, not only from their damage dealers, but the supporting cast as well. Issei on the Lulu with some amazing polymorphs, constantly just shutting down Roach in the team fights. Who else stood out for you from Glaive?
Yeah, you definitely... Well, what stood out to me was definitely Kakari on the Diana. Like, just amazing overall performance. In the end there, was able to pull off some of those dives under tower, switching aggro nicely, able to capitalize on some of the dysfunction and disorganization on the Catalyst side. But as you said before, Issei definitely doing work. You know, support is one of those jobs where you don't necessarily see it, or it's not necessarily glamorous as it's going on, but if it's not there, you will know. And it definitely doing his job of holding his W and holding the polymorph until the very last second.
Right. And looking maybe what Catalyst Frost can look to improve on next week, or maybe what we just want to see from them come out. The entire season is going to get kind of flipped on its head, as tomorrow the preseason is going to be started up. But from a playstyle perspective, one thing that did stand out to us as we were chatting during the game tryhard was the jungle awareness. Walk me through that.
Yeah, there were a couple times where Catalyst just did not seem to know that Glaive had 3 deep in their jungle right next to him. There were at least 2 different times where it's very obvious and apparent when someone's not on the minimap. I don't know what was going through their heads or what they were looking at, but you got to have that mindset to look down to the right every now and again at least, or they will catch you like that.
Yeah, for more insight on how Glaive Black was able to make this 2-0 sweep happen, we are going to head in for we've got an appointment in the doctor's office. He has Demon waiting for a post-game interview.
All right, everybody, for today's interview, we do have the jungler from Glaive Black. It is going to be Demon. Let's get him in here, hopefully, if I can figure out how to manage Discord. It's not exactly easy. Oh, there we go. Figured it out. Maybe.
Hello.
Oh, he's already in here. Somebody else grabbed it. Hi, Demon. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, dude.
Good. So another 2-0 week for you guys. I think that makes, what, 5 in a row?
I lost count a long time ago, dude.
It's only to 5. I know you're a jungler, but it can't be that hard, right?
Nah, I'm a PV main, dude. I don't know how to count.
All right. So looking at tonight, you had to play into the Graves matchup both games. Game 1, you opted into the Hecarim, and it started off rocky, which, led me into my typical Hecarim down spiral, but you managed to bring it back. Is that the plan? Do you just play Hecarim to come back after one item?
Yeah, I mean, I was depressed. He was playing really well. It was Graves. He was oppressing me out of my jungle both games. He did a really good job, but when you lock in stuff like Hecarim or even the Sedge early on, especially against Graves, like I'm not looking to win the game through early game farming. So once he denied me of all those camps and early pressure, my focus is to just cycle my camps while he's doing those early plays, which is the reason I was able to, at 15, I think, I didn't check, but I think at 15, I was still ahead of him, regardless of the early pressure he did put on the map.
Yeah, I mean, as the mid game came out, their lack of a hard engage was kind of becoming apparent, as we did see Hypochondriac just try and brute force a lot of these team fights, and so you were actually able to do a lot of really sick plays on the Hecarim around the blue buff side bush, and then that game ending tri bush, onslaught of shadows there at the end.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's the game plan when we're drafting. Like, we all know what we're supposed to do. We all know what we expect from each other. So when I'm locking in the Hecarim, I know that once I finish Triforce, once I'm finishing Death Stand, that's when my team is going to start expecting some damage, some good setups.
And I mean, you guys didn't even mince any type of play heading into game 2. You just instantly first picked that Sejuani to try and counter the Graves at that point. Why not just go for the Hecarim again?
It's just more of a comfort. The early game from the Hecarim game, we just felt that if they're gonna first pick the Graves, might as well just show the least we can as possible. And although Sedge is certainly not as good as Hecarim, just meta-wise and 5s, it's just a really comfort champion, and I had no issues regardless of what comp the enemy played. So it's just a good early pick for us and allows us to build a stronger comp, which I think showed towards the end once we started stacking those dragons and team fighting.
Yeah, I mean, triple Earth Dragon was pretty much going to make anybody a super tank. I mean, what do you think about the Ignite on Graves in Game 2? It's definitely atypical, especially when you look at the comp as a whole that it's being played into.
So yeah, I mean, the reason why Graves is super strong is because if you saw Game 2, what he does is just red buff, hop over Dragon Pit, and he denied me Gromp. He could have denied me more. The only reason is I think my teammates started threatening the collapse there, but I mean, I like the Ignite, but I don't know. I feel like he might have not been as oppressive as he should have. It's certainly seen a lot more in solo queue for that same reason. Like, you're just denying the jungle any form to get into the game, and I don't think that applies much to 5s, especially our team. Like, I know you can deny me camps, but I know at the end, what my job is in the team, and if it takes me slightly longer, I can just tell them. And when you have Dibble and Dibble, especially Game 2, I got denied so much, but he's just 1v2ing in the top lane, and as a jungle, that's just even extra relief, because I'm not contesting. Normal junglers might have contested certain picks that would have gotten Red even further ahead, right? That's the game that Red was playing, hey, I'm denying you, you can come and try to take it from me. I don't have flash, but once I saw Dibble was just basically all 3 lanes were even, and then Dibble, of course, smurfing in the top lane. I just knew to play the game a little slower.
Yeah, and it obviously worked out for you guys. Another 2-0 week. There's only 1 week left in the regular season for you. Have to imagine right now you go undefeated into playoffs. Do you think that as we head deeper and deeper into the playoffs, the adjustments needed from some of these other teams are going to come through and start, challenging you for that title?
I mean, not trying to be toxic, but I think this team is the only team that actually made us, like, I had to reapply deodorant, right? Like, that's the situation we're in. Like, this is the only team that actually, like, I had to be focused. I mean, it's a 30-minute game. This is the first time we've been 30-plus minute game. Our averages is early 20s, right? Like, it's 4 Dragon, double Herald, sweep games kind of games. I mean, I hope that teams do, like, I hope especially playoffs, once we get to that, like, the teams are much closer, but I don't have high hopes for, I think, any other team other than maybe the team we just played. Of course, we haven't played next week's game, but
so
besides that,
any shout outs tonight as we end up here?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I didn't play well at all today, but I mean, Kiba and Dibble KDA wise were just destroying the game. They were just putting out the damage, and Kakari was doing super well, controlling the fights that we were playing for in the mid game. So shout out to them. And then Breno, Breno's just Breno. Does Breno things.
All right, well, thanks for coming on the desk here and joining us here. Congratulations again on the 2-0 victory, and good luck in the next couple weeks as we head into playoffs.
All right, thank you.
And that's going to do it for us here tonight at the Mid-League. Glaive Black continuing to show their dominance. We are going to be heading into preseason for the rest of the Mid-League fall split here, so it'll be interesting to see if that dominance continues, but they have shown through and through that they are the team to beat, and it's going to be quite the challenge to rise up against them. But for tonight's coverage, that's going to do it from the whole production crew. Mac Dewey, Loud Thoughts Doctor, Try Hard joining us for tonight. Shout out to Fennec and Monocle on the back end, running the replays, running the production. We really do appreciate it, making us casters just look so damn good while the teams are able to pop off on the Rift. We wish you all a lovely rest of the night.
This today. I just did my top 8